And I have a question for Orange County. Do they see the same movie we show in Osceola County about what initial appearances are? Anybody know the answer to that? Public defender? They do? Explaining, okay, great. Okay. Let's get appearances for the record. Who's here for the state?
Trustee Tyner for the state of Florida.
Who's here for the Office of the Public Defender?
Nicholas Taltos.
Who's here for pretrial release?
Robin Guerra.
And I believe the first case has private counsel. Let me call the case. Keenan Omari Royal Green. Counsel?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Joseph Flynn on behalf of Mr. Green. I have not filed my notice of appearance on his current case. I do have a notice of appearance on the other case.
Okay, very good, thank you. So, Mr. Green, you have the right to remain silent. I'm not appointing counsel since you have private counsel. You are charged with the following. This is a new case. Possession of cannabis with intent to sell or deliver with a weapon. Possession of a firearm and commission of a felony. Possession of cannabis in an amount greater than 20 grams. Possession of oxycodone, that being Percocet. Driving while license permanently revoked. Possession of drug paraphernalia. Counsel, are you making a PC argument?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Do you want to be heard before I step on?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, Mr. Green is recovering from surgery he had in May. If the court will notice, he has a medical detainer, or should have a medical detainer on him. He is in medical. He has a noticeable limp and is still going through the physical therapy that comes with getting the, I believe, metal rod put into his leg back in May. All this has should be taken into consideration because he does require further and lengthy amounts of physical therapy to help recover from this surgery, which is still pretty prevalent in his day-to-day life as far as his mobility, his ability to have comfort, and his ability to get back to work. Your Honor, the only other thing I will state is that the lack of physical therapy after such a surgery can be detrimental long-term for Mr. Green in many ways, should he not be able to get it in a timely manner.
I understand that. If I didn't say it, I do find probable cause for the charges. I find it interesting that your client had surgery in May, and yet these charges allegedly occurred in July. So apparently, it's not that debilitating, whatever he had done. So that, I understand and I appreciate your request to reduce the bonds. I'm going to leave the bonds as recommended per the bond schedule at this time, certainly without prejudice to you to file a motion to reduce the bond if
Yes,
you
Your Honor.
believe it appropriate, so that a full hearing can be had on his medical condition and the emergent need for his care and treatment to the extent that exists.
Yes, Your Honor.
But this is not the time to go into that, so I'm going to leave the bonds as set, $15,000 on count one, $150 on counts 2 through 5, $100 on count 6. He is, as a condition of his release, to possess no weapons or firearms, and the other problem, counsel, is this new case violates his conditions of release in 2022 CF 600, carrying a concealed firearm and possession of cannabis with a weapon. I'm going to revoke his bonds and conditions of release in the other case, but I've got to revoke it. Firearms were involved in both cases, and I'm going to set it no bond at this time.
May I be briefly heard, Your Honor?
may.
I'm renewing the original argument I made, and then I would add, on the previous case, that case was a joint possession case. His girlfriend was in the vehicle and did lay claim to the firearm. Her name is Tony Germain. She's listed in the affidavit. We do believe we have a viable defense to the firearm in that case. Understanding the circumstances of this case involving a firearm, that is the argument I would put forth to this court.
Go ahead and file your motion for bond counsel in the other case. All right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's not before me at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Spanish interpreter cases. How many of these are? 1, 2, 3, until the move-ups? Okay, that works. I can do this. Calling the Spanish interpreter cases next. So Roberto Ferrar Maldonado.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Rafael Barrera, State Certified Court Interpreter. I have been previously sworn.
Good morning. We're now doing Orange County cases. First case is Robert Ferreira Maldonado, 2022 MM 4941.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you allow me just a moment to confirm the defendant can hear.
Sí, sí, lo escucho.
Your Honor, the interpreter can confirm this defendant is able to hear through the headsets.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you're charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence, domestic in nature.
Tengo el entendido, pero no.
That's what I understand, but no.
All right. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, and I'm reminding you that you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you.
Okay.
I don't want you to discuss the facts of this case until you've had a chance to meet with your lawyer. The purpose of this proceeding is to advise you of the charges and to set the conditions of your release as appropriate.
Okay, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
Again, you're charged with 1 count of battery, domestic in nature. And counsel, at any time when I call the case, if there's going to be a PC challenge, let me know when I call the case, all right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I neglected to ask you that at the beginning. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find probable cause for the charge in this case. And I need the interpreter to let me know when he's done interpreting.
Your Honor, I am interpreting simultaneously whatever you're saying.
Okay, so I won't wait on you unless you tell me to slow down. Is that how it goes?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Then I'll just keep talking. PTR, I have a sheet indicating he qualifies for PTR. It is unclear whether you made contact to,
No, we did make contact with the victim, but she was unable to attend due to work.
did she express any fear or concern about continued contact with the defendant? Okay. Does she want contact?
She just said she was unable to make it, so we're not sure if she wants to.
All right. Then I'm going to order your release on the following conditions. Bond is set at $500 with PTR conditions. You're to have no contact with the alleged victim. You are to maintain separate residences if you reside together. You are to possess no weapons or firearms as a condition of your release.
just a $500 bond.
$500 bond with PTR. And you may be seated.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Delcia Martinez Palma, 2022 MM 4933.
Your Honor, the interpreter can confirm this defendant is able to hear through the headsets.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. I also want to advise you that you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you. You are charged with one count of battery, domestic in nature. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charges. Before I set your conditions of release, I need to find out who is in the box. Could you state your name, please?
Sorry, Your Honor, if the interpreter can inquire if that witness requires the
I
interpreter.
believe she does.
Okay, Your Honor, I'll go ahead and now broadcast since both parties require the interpreter. Su nombre, por favor.
María Los Santos Palma.
Clarification, Your Honor. Repita de nuevo despacito, por favor.
María de los Santos Palma.
María de los Santos Palma.
Sí.
Yes.
Raise your hand and be sworn.
Levante su mano derecha para prestar juramento.
You swear and affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Usted jura solemnemente o afirma que el testimonio que usted dará en este caso será la verdad, toda la verdad y solamente la verdad ante Dios.
Because of the mask, you have to speak really loud.
Debido a la máscara, tiene que hablar bien fuerte para que se le pueda escuchar. Your Honor, my apologies. The interpreter is not able to hear the witness.
Can you put, since you're isolated, can you turn the
Ya que usted
mask?
está aislado, ¿se puede quitar la máscara?
I need you to answer that question.
Necesito que me conteste esa pregunta en voz alta.
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to discuss the incident itself.
No quiero hablar sobre los detalles del incidente.
I want to know if you're afraid of Ms. Martinez Palma.
Quiero saber si usted teme a la señorita Martínez Palma.
Sí.
Yes.
Do you want any contact with her?
¿Desea trato con ella?
No.
No.
Do you currently reside together?
¿Actualmente viven juntas?
No.
No.
Okay. I'm setting the conditions of release as follows.
Le voy a dar las siguientes condiciones de libertad.
Bond is set at $1,000.
Fianza está programada, $1,000.
There's to be no contact with the alleged victim.
No se le permitirá contacto con la presunta víctima.
If you ever resided together, you're to maintain separate residences.
Si en algún momento vivieron juntas, se le exige que mantengan residencias separadas.
You're to possess no weapons or firearms.
No se le permite portar armas blancas o armas de fuego.
And no return to the scene where this incident occurred.
No se le permitirá regresar al lugar de los acontecimientos.
You may be seated. Thank you, ma'am.
Puede tomar asiento. Muchas gracias.
Braylon Estevez Santana.
Sí.
22 CF 8565.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we'll go ahead and do it simultaneously since he has headphones.
Okay. Sir, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent, and I urge you to exercise that right. You're charged with one count of possession of cocaine with intent to sell or deliver with a firearm. You're also charged with possession of cannabis in an amount less than 20 grams and grand theft third degree of a firearm. I find probable cause for all of the charges. Bond is set as follows. Possession of cocaine with intent to sell or deliver with a firearm, $25,000. Are there 2 counts for that? State, are there 2 counts for that?
I only see one, Your Honor. I have possession of cannabis, possession of cocaine with intent, and grand theft. And that's
It's the number of count, okay, gotcha, count 2. So $25,000 for that count, possession of cannabis, $100, grand theft, $150. You are to possess no weapons or firearms as a condition of your release. To the extent you have any, do you have any firearms?
No.
Okay,
No.
then that'll take care of that. Maybe, you're dismissed. Victor Hernandez Sorian. 22 CF 8544.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're charged with destruction of evidence and possession of drug paraphernalia. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charges. You do not qualify for PTR. Bond is set at $1,000 on count 1, and I'm dropping it to $100 on count 2. That is all. Yamelas Padron Riesco, and it is 22 CF 7559.
And Your Honor,
Thank you, Your Honor. Could Your Honor kindly spell that second last name? You said it was Padron, and what was the second spelling,
Padron,
Judge?
Padronriesgo.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
and Your Honor, I do have a probable cause argument. I don't have a factual basis for this case.
Okay, you don't have one at all?
No.
It's a warrant case. So that's what's going on. Probable cause was previously found. So I'm not going to hear a probable cause challenge on a warrant case. Okay? Okay. I will tell you, counsel, the application and affidavit for the arrest warrant was filed with the warrant on June 29th.
I'm sorry, the arrest affidavit, correct?
The arrest warrant
Right,
was issued June 29th.
right, and I didn't see any factual basis for that.
There's an affidavit, application and affidavit. You didn't see the affidavit?
I did see the affidavit, but I didn't see any factual basis in it.
Okay, you need to bring that up in a bond motion separately, because we don't go behind the warrant to determine whether or not there's probable cause,
Okay,
typically.
okay.
Or we would be challenging every warrant that's ever issued.
Usually they do include in the affidavit some factual basis. But I will make a note, okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's not there at all.
There's just no, you're right.
Or, they reference Exhibit A, MBI case number 20N-2030, submitted the statement incorporated by reference.
And I saw that, I just didn't see that filing or any
That's
reference.
fine. Let's see what the state says.
All I have is the affidavit that was from when she was picked up, so I don't have the warrant information.
Okay. I don't think we can address this today. You may have a concern, counsel, but I don't have the actual affidavit upon which the warrant was based. Oftentimes, I don't. And until we get that and it's before a judge challenging the warrant itself, I'm not going to go behind the warrant to challenge the affidavit
Okay.
in this proceeding.
Okay.
All right? You don't have the MBI case. You can't access that case number, can you? No. All right, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're here pursuant to an arrest warrant that was issued based upon, it looks like, an application for affidavit and arrest warrant that incorporates Exhibit A of MBI case number 20N-2030. Hold on. Counsel, when I originally read this, I thought it incorporated the affidavit from a different case. It incorporates the affidavit from this case. There is no affidavit in this case. State, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a reset on this case for 24 hours. The affidavit's out there. You need to find it and get it in the case file and bring it tomorrow, please. So it may simply be a technical issue. She's to be held until, I'm not releasing her, given the charges in this case, but there needs to be an affidavit of record. If it's a different case, find it and get it filed in this case. If it's this case, find it and get it filed. I can't simply have an arrest warrant that says,
I understand.
we're charging you with all of this stuff without any affidavit.
I have her listed as, on my paperwork, it says out of state arrest, book is fugitive from justice with no bond. And then it has the charges from Orange County, Florida listed. So I'm not sure what's going on either.
All right, so I want to reset. I want everybody to take a look at this case, and let's bring it back before me tomorrow.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your
All
Honor.
right?
Judge, you want to just keep it at no bond?
I'm going to keep it at no bond pending the reset. She has bonds on all the counts. I'll leave the bonds on all the counts as set, pending the reset. I'm not going to modify that. I don't know that she'll bond out before tomorrow. All right? Any other Spanish interpreter cases? I showed that was the last one. Do we have any further need for the interpreter?
Your Honor, would you like the interpreter to sound the gallery?
Yes.
Su atención, por favor, si hay alguna persona presente en este momento que necesite los servicios del intérprete en el público, alce la mano, por favor.
Somebody waving no, I think. No? Okay. So thank you very much, sir. You are free to go.
Have a good weekend, Your Honor.
You
Thank you
too.
very much.
You too, sir. Right. Right. James Weber.
Yes, Your Honor.
I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You are charged with the following: battery, unlawful touching or striking, aggravated battery, causing bodily harm or disability, resisting an officer, obstructing without violence.
And Your Honor, I have a PC for the aggravated battery.
Go ahead.
That the remote control and the bump on the head don't rise to the level of a deadly weapon or great bodily harm.
Response?
No, Your Honor, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay. I find probable cause for battery, unlawful touching or striking. I find probable cause for resisting an officer, obstructing without violence. I do not find PC on count 2. Before I set your bond or conditions of release, I would like to know who we have with us today. Ma'am, could you state your name, please?
Yes, it's Sarah Weber.
Would you raise your hand to be sworn? Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're going to provide is the truth? Nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, I will.
Are you the alleged victim in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to hear about the incident itself. What I want to know, and I'm only dealing with bond conditions, you currently reside with Mr. Weber?
Yes?
You want continued contact?
Yes.
Are you afraid of him?
No.
If he were to become violent with you in the future, what would you do?
I would call the police.
Any hesitancy about that?
Pardon?
Would you have any hesitancy about calling the police?
Never. I want to drop the charges if I can.
Okay. Then here's what I'm going to do. I am going to set your bond at $500 on count 1, ROR on count 2, having found no probable cause, $500 on count 3, with the additional conditions that you are to have no hostile contact with the alleged victim, and you are to relinquish any weapons or firearms that you have and possess no weapons or firearms as a condition of your release. All right?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Donald Gibson.
Donald Gibson, his behavior.
We're doing them anyway. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Gibson. I'm finding his behavior constitutes a waiver of his appearance at this proceeding today. He is charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence. I reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. And his bond is set as follows: $1,000 with the additional conditions that he is to have no contact with the alleged victim, maintain separate residences if they reside together, and possess no weapons or firearms. If he needs to return to the scene, he may do so on a one-time basis in the presence of law enforcement. If they reside together, he may return to the residence on a one-time basis in the presence of law enforcement. All right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Derek Mosley.
Yes.
Mr. Mosley, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, and I want to let you know you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can be used against you in a future proceeding. You, sir, are here for 4 failures to appear. Pursuant to a capias that was issued. Underlying charges, I guess you failed to appear at your trial management conference on June 7th of 2022. So at this time, the bonds in the underlying cases are forfeited, and they already were forfeited, and your bonds are set in 0 on each of these charges at this time. Talk to your lawyer.
All of those is one case, they one case anyway. It's all in one. It's Miss Thornton.
Yep, should be in contact. All right.
Thank you.
Marquia Prince.
Yes.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are charged with grand theft, 3rd degree of a motor vehicle, and burglary of a conveyance. Probable cause was previously found. An arrest warrant was previously issued. Your bond in that arrest warrant was set at $2,500 on count 1, $250 on count 2, and I am not going to disturb those bond amounts.
And your case number, okay?
Wendla Shaw.
Mental health, Your Honor.
I'm still doing Wendla Shaw. I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent her, and I am waiving her appearance at this initial appearance proceeding. She is charged with 2 failures to appear. Pursuant to the warrant, her bonds, I guess she failed to appear for a status hearing on June 28th of 2022. She's also charged with camping in a prohibited area and state misdemeanors. As to the 2 failures of to appear, her bond is set at $2,500 on count 1 and $100 on count 2. As to the other, $250 and $100 respectively. On camping and state misdemeanors, I do find probable cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, let's do Robert Trespass. Dexteria. Torres Dexteria. I'm saying that wrong, aren't I? Sextata, okay. Sir, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you and advising you that you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you. You are charged with 1 count of grand theft, 3rd degree, in an amount greater than $750, but less than $5,000. You are also it was probable cause was previously found for that charge, and the bond in that case was set at $2,500. I believe, PTR, is he currently out on all these other charges?
No, Your Honor, this is an add-on charge. So he's here on other offenses. He was already IA'd, but this is an add-on charge.
Okay, so he already was IA'd on all
Yes,
those other charges,
yes.
so I don't need to do that.
Yes.
Very good. I think that's it then for today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael Taylor,
Mental health, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him, waiving his appearance at this proceeding. He's charged with 1 count of battery. I do find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $500. There's also to be no contact with the alleged victim.
Thank you, Judge.
Joe Wilson. Mr. Wilson, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you.
Yes, ma'am.
You are directed or reminded that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding.
What does that mean? Because I already been under arrest. Already been, oh,
All right, so I've appointed that attorney to represent you, and he can explain everything.
but I would like to resolve it today.
It's not going to happen today, sir. The purpose of today is just,
I thought, then send me to Lakeside then. That's the only way that, because I'm willing to take it to trial.
All right.
But
All
what I'm
right.
saying is though, I don't need you to talk for me. I don't need you. I can talk for myself. I'm calm. But, know what I'm saying? I have court on the 25th. The only reason why I'm here in Orlando is because I have court on the 25th. You arrest me for a trespassing that is bogus because I'm waiting. I just got out of the mental hospital because I need my medication that I turn in at the Walgreens that's right across in the same parking lot. And I'm not the trespass is not for Family Dollar. The trespass is for Dollar General. Because it says it on the trespassing. It says Dollar General. That is not a Dollar General, that is a Family Dollar. But y'all can't resolve it today. I missed it because I can't even go to the second floor. Because there's no room on the second floor in the mental health dorm. And they can't even give me my medication.
hold on 1 second, sir. PTR, is his only charge today
So why
trespass
can't I
on
just get
property
time
after
served?
warning?
Yes, ma'am, but he's also out on bond on a 2021 felony charge for battery on LEO and the trespassing.
Okay. I mean, he's out on bond on those cases?
Yes, ma'am.
And I have court Monday.
Well, if you have court Monday, you'll likely be brought over to court, so.
Brought over to
wouldn't
court, but
lose a
why
lot
is
of
this
sleep.
not being resolved?
Because I'm not going to. You need.
You know what? I should cuss your ass out, but I ain't gonna do that.
You are charged with trespass on property after warning. Your bond is set at $500. And I'm revoking any bonds that he has in place and setting that no bond until such time as he's brought before the presiding judge. And that'll do it, I think. Wendy Driscoll.
Ma'am.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, and I am reminding you, you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. It is domestic in nature. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $3,500. You're to have no contact with the alleged victim. And if you reside together, you're to maintain separate residences. Daravi Jaime. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with false imprisonment, domestic violence in nature, attempted tampering with a witness, and battery, also domestic in nature. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charges. Your bonds are set as follows. Count one,
Your Honor, we did qualify Miss Jamie for straight pretrial release.
you did.
Yes, ma'am.
On all charges?
Yes.
Any objection by the state?
No, Your Honor. Well, no, Your Honor. If pretrial release, I would just
Okay.
ask for conditions.
Then I will release you under straight pretrial release conditions with the following additional conditions. You're ordered to have no contact with the alleged victim. If you You're also ordered to possess no weapons or firearms. Johnny Rivera. Mr. Rivera, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You are charged with tampering with a witness, battery, dating violence, and criminal mischief in an amount greater than $1,000.
Your Honor, we also qualified Mr. Rivera for straight pretrial release.
Probable cause was previously found. Based upon the report from PTR, I will release you under direct pretrial release conditions and the additional condition that there be no contact with the alleged victim. And you're to possess no weapons or firearms. Shane Rivers.
This is still open though, okay?
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're charged with tampering with a witness to hinder communications to a law enforcement officer and with battery, dating violence. I reviewed the charges. I do find probable cause for the charges. Before I set the conditions of your release, ma'am, what is your name, please?
Otavia Clark.
I need you to put your mask down so we can all hear you.
Otavia Clark.
All right, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Are you the alleged victim in this case?
Yes.
I don't want to hear about what happened that day. What I want to know is if you are afraid of him.
No.
Do you want contact with him?
Yes.
Do you currently reside together?
Yes.
How long have you done that?
Like 2 years.
How long?
2 years.
If he were to become violent in the future, what would you do?
Call the police again.
I need you to pull that.
Call the police again.
Would you have any hesitancy or delay about doing that?
No.
I find probable cause for the charges as indicated. Bond is set on, Tell me about 2022 CFA 564, pretrial release.
Your Honor, we didn't qualify Mr. Rivers for pretrial release. He has a open case in Seminole County for a duelist and attached tag, so we weren't able to qualify.
Dwellis and
Yes.
attached tags. All right. Bond is set at $1,000 on count one. $1,000 on count two. You're to have no hostile contact with the alleged victim, and you're to possess no weapons or firearms and relinquish any in your custody or control within 24 hours of your release from incarceration.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir.
Aisha Weston. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, domestic in nature, and burglary of a conveyance. I reviewed the charging affidavit. I'm looking for the weapon. State,
It's a hammer, Your Honor.
found it. Okay. I do find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $2,500 on count one, $2,500 on count two. You are to have no contact with the alleged victim. You're not to return to the scene where this occurred. If you reside together, you're to maintain separate residences, and you're to possess no weapons or firearms as a condition of your release. Elizabeth Braun.
And, Your Honor, I do have a probable cause argument for this case.
All right, let me get you appointed. Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you at this time, and you're charged with 1 count of battery, domestic in nature. Go ahead, sir.
From the 4 corners of the arrest affidavit, I see just an allegation with no factual basis.
State.
The sworn affidavit states that there was a verbal statement made by the defendant and the victim that she did strike Diana without her permission, knowingly and intentionally.
So, counsel, it alleges defendant knowingly and intentionally struck her sister and victim, Diana Braun, by pushing her without permission or authority to act. What's missing?
I didn't see that, I just said that I didn't see any factual basis, though, for it, just that there is a bare allegation.
Just what?
Just that there was a bare allegation.
You mean there's no bruise, she didn't fall down, there's nothing visible?
No, I in the arrest affidavit, I just saw one sentence that said the elements of the crime were met, but there was no factual basis surrounding what happened. Just that the officer arrived, and it didn't even say the officer arrived. It just is one. I think it's 2 sentences.
Actually, yeah, it is 2 sentences. It is abbreviated, and they didn't go into much else.
They didn't say that the officer actually talked to anybody.
I agree.
This information is based on
I agree.
information,
You
belief,
win.
and verbal statement.
You win.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep going.
I do not find probable cause. There's no context, there's an affidavit that is being sworn to based upon information and belief only. No relaying of a discussion that occurred with anybody. So I'm going to give the state 48 hours to file a supplemental affidavit of probable cause.
Now, let me take.
Meanwhile, I'm going to release her PTR with the directive that she have no contact with the alleged victim, maintain separate residences, not return to the scene, and not possess any weapons or firearms. Corey Brown.
So this is.
Mr. Brown, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're charged with violation of a domestic injunction, which mandates you are to stay away from the residence, property, school, or place of employment of the protected person or other family or household member. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. Your bond is set at 0, no bond at this time. However, you are already out on burglary of an occupied structure and petty theft of $100 or more. One of the conditions of your bond is that you not pick up any new charges. You've done that. At this time, I'm revoking your bonds and setting those amounts at zero, no bond at this time. I'm also ordering in connection with the violation of the injunction charge that you are to have possessed no weapons or firearms and have no contact with the alleged victim in that proceeding. Caitlin Cope.
I have a Larry Clyburn before Ms. Pope.
I'm sorry, who?
Clyburn.
All right. Larry Clyburn. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You are charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. However, you do qualify for PTR. Accordingly, I'm going to release you under PTR conditions with the additional criteria that you're to have no contact with the alleged victim. If you reside together, you're to maintain separate residences, and you may return on a one-time basis in the presence of law enforcement to gather your personal possessions. You're to possess no weapons or firearms as a condition of your release.
Your list on pretrial release conditions. Our information.
Caitlin Cope. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you at this time. You're charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there is probable cause for the charge. However, you do qualify for PTR. So I am going to release you under PTR conditions. You're to have no contact with the alleged victim. You are to possess no weapons or firearms. You're to maintain separate residences. If you reside together, you may return on a one-time basis in the presence of law enforcement to gather your personal possessions. Because it appears that alcohol was a contributing factor in this case, I'm also ordering that you are to not have any alcohol or illegal drugs. Want to make it clear, if you drink alcohol, that's a violation of your conditions of release.
Here's our information. We're going to be released on pretrial release.
Randy Haynes.
Make sure you get in contact with your office. You're welcome.
Mr. Haynes, I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you and letting you know that you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with 1 count of battery, unlawful touching, or striking. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charge. You do qualify for a direct PTR. Is that right, PTR?
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain it.
So I will release you under direct PTR conditions. Because we have not heard from the victim directly, I'm ordering there is no contact with the alleged victim, maintain separate residences, one-time return if necessary to gather personal possessions, do not possess weapons or firearms. Rachel Moore.
Here's our information. You're welcome.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. I note that you do not qualify, but I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender for purposes of this proceeding anyway. You also have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charges. You do qualify for PTR, so I'm releasing you under direct PTR conditions. You're to have no contact with the alleged victim. Do not return to the location where this incident occurred. Maintain separate residences. Not possess any weapons or firearms. Brian Moreno.
Your Honor, she lives with the alleged victim.
I didn't hear you.
She lives with the alleged victim in this case.
I had that last affidavit back. Well, I ordered maintain separate residences,
You're gonna have to find another.
so not, right now, she doesn't.
Does she have a one-time return with law enforcement?
She can have a one-time return in the presence of law enforcement to retrieve your personal possessions. Go back, you're gonna have to find another place to live. I have a note in here that, this is not the case. Yeah, it is. So I'm not going to let you live with the victim right now, so you're going to have to find another place. One-time return to take your personal possessions away, and no contact, and no weapons or firearms. Victim's not here to testify otherwise. Brian Moreno.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you and advising you that you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You're charged with 1 count of battery, dating violence.
Yes, Your Honor.
I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. Before I set your conditions of release, ma'am, what is your name?
Celestia Verlano.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Are you the victim in this case?
Yes.
Are you afraid of Mr. Moreno? Do
Yes.
you want any contact with him?
I only need contact to get the rest of my things in my mail, but that's it.
So you're moving out, or you've moved out of his place?
We were sharing a home. We were both on the lease together. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do about that, but I have, since the incident, moved my stuff out.
Okay, so you've moved out.
Yes.
All right.
Excuse me.
We can make that happen.
Thank you.
You do qualify for pretrial release. So I'm going to release you under pretrial release conditions with the following conditions. You're to have no contact with the alleged victim. She's already moved out, so she may return on a one-time basis in the presence of law enforcement to gather the rest of her things.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're to possess no weapons or firearms. And you're to maintain separate residences, if I didn't already say that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else from
Nothing further.
from council? Okay. So you get to go back, have law enforcement with you, gather your personal possessions, and he's not to have any contact with you.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Rajai Nicholas. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are charged with 1 count of battery, unlawful touching, or striking. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charges. You do not qualify for PTR. Accordingly, bond is set at $1,000. You're to have no contact with the alleged victim, maintain separate residences, one-time return if you reside together with law enforcement to gather your personal possessions. Do not possess any weapons or firearms.
Household? What was that bond amount, Your Honor?
$1,000.
Thank you.
In the household, sorry.
Counsel? I can't hear what he's
Oh,
saying.
he said within the household. You were referring to the weapons?
Whose house is it?
That is her house.
It's her house? You're moving out. Kareem Sheard.
Go visit one time.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set. Now, you qualify for PTR, so I'm going to release you under PTR conditions. Additional conditions are no contact with the alleged victim, maintain separate residences. You may return once if you live together now in the presence of law enforcement to get your personal stuff back, and do not possess any weapons or firearms. Portia Watts.
As long as your presence is separate. Yeah.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You are charged, or you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with 1 count of battery, domestic violence. I've reviewed the charging affidavit, and I find probable cause for the charge. You do qualify for pretrial release, and that's what I'm ordering. You're to maintain separate residences. You may return to this residence on a one-time basis with law enforcement to retrieve your personal possessions. You are to not possess any weapons or firearms.
And Your Honor, that's a no contact.
And that's a no contact, yes, ma'am. No contact with the Vic at all. Thank you for that. Kieran Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. I also want to remind you, you have the right to remain silent, and anything that you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You're charged with violation of a domestic injunction. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. I'm setting your bond at 0, no bond at this time. And you're to have, again, no contact with the alleged victim. I'm also ordering that you not possess any weapons or firearms.
Okay. Could I say something?
You have a lawyer I've appointed, so if you have any questions, ask him.
This is the public.
Amanda Brooks.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I'm using that one. That's the one I'm starting. I don't need these. Okay, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are charged with the following: dealing in stolen property, dealing in 2 counts, and that is trafficking, false verification of ownership for a secondhand dealer, 2 counts, and receiving money from a pawnbroker and providing false verification, 2 counts. I am finding probable cause for all of those counts. Bond is set as follows: $5,000 on count 1, $300 on each of the other counts. You are also ordered to, that there be no pawning and no return to the La Familia Pawn Shop in particular. And that is all. Shannon Caldwell. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are charged with petty theft with 2 prior theft convictions. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charges. Your bond is set at $1,000. And you are not to return to the Walmart located on South Orange Blossom Trail. This bond also violates you on your possession of fentanyl, violates your PTR on possession of fentanyl. I'm taking no action on that count. Antoine Davis.
Refused, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the, I'll wait. We are going to go ahead and do Antoine Davis, even though he refused. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him. He has the right to remain silent. I'm waiving his appearance today based upon his refusal. He has been charged with failing to report as a violation. I reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at, I'm going to set bond at $2,000. That's it.
Thank you.
George Delisle. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, advising you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You are charged with possession of cocaine with intent to sell or deliver and possession of fentanyl. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $15,000 on count 1 and $150 on count 2. PTR, does he have pending charges? Is he out on bond or release in anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Then that's all. Gary Fort. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you and reminding you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with possession of a controlled substance. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charge. You do not qualify for PTR. Bond is set at $1,000. Moises Jermosin.
Please behavior, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent Moises Hermosin. He is charged with tampering with physical evidence and smuggling contraband marijuana into a county detention facility. I'm waiving his appearance today based upon his refusal. He's also charged with carrying a concealed firearm and with petty theft retail. I am finding probable cause on all counts. His bonds are set as follows: tampering with physical evidence, $1,000, smuggling contraband into a county detention facility, $1,000, carrying a concealed weapon, $2,500, petty theft retail, $250, with the additional requirement that he not return to the Walmart located at 5734 South Orange Blossom Trail. If I didn't say it, and I think I did, I'm finding probable cause on all counts. Angel Gonzalez.
Bonded, Your Honor.
Leslie Hall. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, reminding you you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You're charged with possession of a controlled substance. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charge. You do not qualify for PTR. Bond is set at $1,000. Michon Harrington. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, that being methamphetamines. Your bond was set at $1,000. In the warrant, probable cause was previously found. You do not qualify for pretrial release. So we'll leave the bond as set. Joshua Hull. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, reminding you that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with possession of cocaine, I've reviewed the charging affidavit and find probable cause for the charge. Bond in that case is set at $1,000. You do not qualify for PTR. You're also here pursuant to 2 out-of-county warrants. 2 or 1? Let me look at that. 1 out-of-county warrant, 2 copies. For a writ of bodily attachment for a child, there's a purge amount of $510. And that is all. Sabrina Kimball.
Refused, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent her. She is charged with burglary of a conveyance and possession of drug paraphernalia. She has the right to remain silent. Counsel, if you would advise her of that. And I'm waiving her appearance at today's proceeding based upon her refusal. I'm finding probable cause for the charges. Bond is set as follows: $3,500 on count 1, $100 on count 2. Marissa Lamar.
Bonded.
Thank you. Joshua Martinez.
Refused, Your Honor.
I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent Mr. Martinez. Counsel, please advise him that he has a right to remain silent. He's charged with possession of heroin with intent to sell, deliver, possession of fentanyl, battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, resisting an officer with violence, and resisting an officer without violence, and trespass on property after warning. And based upon his refusal, I'm finding the waiver. I find probable cause for all the charges, and bonds are set as follows: $15,000 on count 1, $150 each on counts 2 through 5, and $100 on count 6. No, I'm leaving the bonds as set. I didn't change any of them. Okay, Jack Monroe.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, letting you know you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You're charged with driving while license revoked as a habitual offender. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $2,500. You're also out on driving while license suspended. I'm revoking your bond in that case, forfeiting the bond, finding a forfeiture of the bond, but I'll give you a new bond in double the amount of the original bond, and that's $5,000 at this time. DeAndre Montgomery. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with aggravated assault with a firearm and battery. Probable cause was previously found. I am increasing the bond set forth in the warrant in this case to $10,000 for count one. So ag assault with a firearm is $10,000. The battery will be $1,000. There's to be no contact with the alleged victim, no return, and maintain separate residences. This was an add-on, folks?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. And do not possess any weapons or firearms. If you'd let them know that, counsel, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Jelani Peterson.
Be bonded, Your Honor.
Matthew Rosenberg.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You're charged, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with destruction of evidence and resisting an officer without violence. A review of the charging affidavit indicates there is probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $1,000 on count one, $100 on count two. Jarvis Sears.
It's DOT, medical.
I already knew that. I thought I don't have like some kind of deal or nothing to get out. I already knew that.
I'm sorry, what happened to Jarvis Sears?
DOT medical, outside medical.
Outside of medical.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Let's do a reset on, I'm missing the first part of what you said. DOT?
DOT.
Gotcha. I gotcha. No, I want to go forward with it unless there's a PC charge. That's what I'm checking. We have some new guidelines. We're going to go forward with them unless you have a PC charge.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent them. So he's charged with possession of cocaine. Possession or use of drug equipment and obstruction, resisting an officer, obstruction without violence. And I've reviewed the charging affidavits for those three charges. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is $1,000 on the cocaine possession count, $500 on the possession of drug equipment, and $100 on the obstructing without violence charge. However, he's also out on bond in 22 CF 8557, 22 CF for three, are all of these cases the same case number?
No, you're right. He's on three, the 2022 CF 3607 AO and the 2022 CF 3562 AO and 2022 CF 3456 AO.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm revoking his bonds in all of those cases based upon the new charge and setting his bonds at zero, no bond for now. James Shorter. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are charged with criminal mischief in an amount greater than $1,000. I've reviewed the charging affidavit and the arrest warrant. Probable cause was previously found by Judge Wilson. She set your bond at $1,000, where it will remain. However, this case violates you in 2022 CF 3457, which also contains of the charges a criminal mischief count. I am revoking your bond in that case, setting your bond at zero, no bond at this time, based upon the new charge. John Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with sale and delivery of fentanyl, sale and delivery of cocaine, possession of methamphetamine with intent, possession of alprazolam, unlawful use of a two-way communications device, possession of cannabis in an amount less than 20 grams, possession of drug paraphernalia. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. There is probable cause for the charges. Bond is set as follows: $15,000 on count 1, $150 on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 individually. Each one gets $150, $100 each on count 6 and 7. These new charges violate your bond in 2022 CF 6113. I am revoking your bond in that case and setting your bond at zero at this time, or setting your conditions of release at zero. Emily Trush.
Refuse, Your Honor.
We're going to go forward. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent Emily Trush. I'm finding her refusal to be a waiver of her appearance at today's event. She's charged with grand theft, third degree, of a motor vehicle. A review of the charging affidavit reflects probable cause. Bond is set at $1,000.
Do we have a Jane Doe in the felony cases?
I don't know, I haven't gotten to them yet.
Okay. My apologies.
Let you know when I call it. Let me ask staff and the attorneys, do you want to keep going, or does anybody need a break?
I'm okay.
DTR?
I'm okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk? Okay. So we're on Sadaris Boyles?
Yes.
Mr. Boyles, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in a future proceeding. You're here based upon warrants that were issued in 3 different cases for failure to appear, and in each of these cases, your bond was set at $10,000. I am not going to modify it. George Pantel. Mr. Pantel, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with failure to appear. Sorry?
Somewhat.
Does he need an interpreter?
No. Hard of hearing.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll start over. Is it a hearing issue? Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Hello? This is a test.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start over. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with failure to appear. And the probable cause for that was, a capias was issued for your failure to appear for a status hearing. You did get a bond, however, and that bond is $750, and we'll leave it as set. Benjamin Farsiak. Bonded, thank you.
Where?
How about Shane Tenahill?
Be here before I get that letter.
He didn't bond. What you mean? I didn't get, I don't see where he bonded. Benjamin Safrascio? Huh? Oh, you said, Benjamin bonded? Oh, no, he's right there. Okay. Oh, okay, Pandak. Okay.
Wait, who did Svarciok, SFARCIOC, bond?
No, he's right here, Your Honor. He's present.
Okay. Well, I don't have his paperwork. I don't have his paperwork. Is this out of order? S. Svarciok, Benjamin.
This is him, Your Honor.
Okay, but I understand that. QR. All right, just got out of order. Svarciok. What happened to these two? This is Flambeck.
Bonded.
Flambeck bonded.
And Rivera Rodriguez?
Bonded.
Okay,
Okay.
now I got it. So we are on Benjamin Svarciok. Sir, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with possession of a controlled substance, possession of a prescription drug without a script, needing a commercial driver's license, and DUI, driving while under the influence.
Excuse me?
I find probable cause for the charges. Bonds are set as follows. $200 for the commercial driver's license count, $1,000 for the DUI. You are also, in that case, not to consume any alcohol as a condition of your release. For possession of a controlled substance, $2,000, and possession of a prescription drug without a script, $200.
that what you're asking?
Yeah, excuse me. Excuse me a moment, please.
Talk to your lawyer first.
So the prescriptions were my brother's and my sister.
Counsel, is there anything we need to address?
Nothing
Okay.
further, Your Honor. We'll be in contact with you when your attorney reaches out, and you'll-
You are not to drink alcohol or take any illegal drugs as a condition in both cases. All right? Thank you. Shane Tenahill. I think I called that.
The public defender's already there.
Sir, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with failure to appear. A capias was issued for that failure to appear. It was for a VOP status hearing. Set your bond at 0, no bond. And you may, that is all. Rosalind Boyd.
Mental health, Your Honor?
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent her. I don't have the paperwork for her.
Which,
Boyd and Dixon.
Boyd,
Boyd.
all right, and Vanicola?
Sorry?
Vanicola? Okay, bonded, thank you.
I'm looking for Boyd.
mental health.
This is
Okay, thank you.
Mark Vanicola.
What happened to Vanicola? Find it.
Vanicola bonded? Okay, so that's Vanicola. It is, okay. So Rosalind Boyd, she refused, or she's medical?
Mental health.
Mental health. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent her. Finding a waiver of her appearance today. She is charged with trespass on property other than a structure or conveyance, curtilage. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $500. Caruso, Dominic Caruso. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in a future proceeding. You're charged with disorderly intoxication and resisting an officer without violence. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at
Ronald, we did qualify Mr. Caruso for pretrial release. We updated his face sheet. At the time, he was in Staple, but he was interviewed after the fact.
So you have a new face sheet?
Yes, I'm just trying to print it here.
Okay. Now, based upon that, is there any objection to PTR by the state?
No, Your Honor.
Then I will release him under pretrial release conditions as to both counts.
I'm gonna inquire from the state if there's an offer on this, since it's a pleable case.
No offer from the state, but if you would like to make offers on these, that's fine. They're all pleables. I didn't have time to make offers on the pleables.
All right, well then come on back.
So,
PTR, yes.
Any conditions, Your Honor?
I am not going to put any conditions on it. Carolyn Crawford.
Mental health, Your Honor?
We're on Carolyn Crawford. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent her, finding a waiver of her appearance. She's charged with a battery. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $500. No other conditions of release. Jorge Duran.
Yes.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You are charged with
this is our. Okay, they'll send you a.
failing to possess a valid conservation or license or stamp or for possession to sell wild animals without authority. And conservation animals, violation of the rule ordering captive wildlife. And specifically, no person shall possess any wildlife requiring a permit for personal use or any wildlife for sale or exhibition without documentation of the source and supplier of the wildlife. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $500 on each count. I'm also finding a release of your, a non-view violation of your bond and conditions of release in 2021. MM 6815, revoking your bond in that case, but I'll give you a new one and double the original amount, so it will now be $1,000.
Right.
What was 500, so I doubled it to 1,000? On the new charges, it's $500 per count, so it's a total of 1,000. On the other case that he's out on bond on, he was out on 500, so I did 1,000, so it's a total of 2,000. No, he's out on bond on 500, I doubled it. So what I did is I said I'll give him a new bond and double the amount of the original $500 bond. So, rather than hold him no bond. Maisha Felder.
You refused, Your Honor?
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him. He is charged with a battery. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $500. You have no contact with the alleged victim. And that is all. Claudia Gracia. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You are charged with disorderly intoxication and trespass on property after warning. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set as follows. $250 for disorderly intoxication, trespass on property after warning, $500. You're ordered not to return to the Rocco's Tacos location where this occurred. You're also out on driving while license suspended. Bond amount in that case was $10,000. That's 2022 CT 1520.
It's out of Osceola County, I believe, Your Honor.
It's a bond of $10,000 out of Osceola County?
No, I'm just saying it's the Osceola County case.
Okay, thank you. One of the conditions of your release is that you not pick up any new charges. You've done that. I'm revoking the bond and your conditions of release at this time. I'll set your bond at zero, no bond, until such time as you're brought before the judge for a bond hearing. Anthony Harris.
Mental health?
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent Anthony Harris. Mr. Harris is charged with indecent exposure. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. And bond is set at $500. Hope you caught all that, counsel. Okay. Cedric Jackson. Mr. Jackson, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You are charged with petty theft. I hope that beer was worth it, sir. I don't want to hear anything. This is not the time to discuss the case. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $500, in part because your risk assessment is high. And I am ordering that you not return to the 7-Eleven located at 846 South Kirkman Road. Edwin Martinez. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with petty theft with one prior theft conviction. I reviewed the charging affidavit. I see probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $1,000. You were ordered not to return to the Walgreens located at 1831 West Sand Lake Road. Christian Nelson.
Refused?
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him. I'm finding his refusal constitutes a waiver of appearance. He's charged with petty theft, 1 count, retail. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $250. No return to the Walmart at 2500 South Kirkman Road. Cynthia Schneiderwind.
Medical?
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent her. She is charged with 1 count of trespass on property after warning. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $500. She's ordered not to return to the 7-Eleven gas station located at 3974 South Orange Blossom Trail. Sean Williams.
Bonded?
Nectar Garcia. Oops. Is it Nectar Garcia or John Wright?
John Wright was a bond.
Thank you. Nectar Garcia, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future proceeding. You are here based upon an out-of-county warrant, specifically out of Volusia County. Which contains 9, actually, you're here for 9 out-of-county warrants. Warrants are out of Volusia County. Each count sets your bond at 0, no bond.
I have a, yeah, it amounts.
Blanket bond?
Blanket bond, it amounts to 250,000.
All right, it didn't make it to the affidavit cover sheet. I do see the 250,000.
It's a teletype from Volusia.
I'm sorry? Thank you. All right. So you're here based upon 9 counts, 7 of them are conspiracy to commit burglary of an unoccupied structure. 2 are conspiracy to commit grand theft with a firearm. And there is a blanket bond for all 9 counts in the amount of $250,000. Other conditions of release are no contact with the victim, you're also Is this an Orange County case, this other one?
Yes.
Okay. You're also out on bond in Orange County. For burglary of a conveyance, fraud, and a number of other counts in which your bond is set at $4,500. I am revoking your bond in that case and setting your bond at zero, no bond. I think that does it. Did I miss anything on that one?
Open case that you have in this county. So you have to.
All right. Jamson,
Okay.
Lawvence.
It's here and then go to village. Go back. Okay.
Mr. Lawvence? Okay, I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with aggravated battery, trespass on property after warning, and disorderly conduct. Okay. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set as follows: $3,500 count one, $100 each of the other counts. Is this a warrant case? I don't have the warrant if it was. Okay. And no contact with the alleged victim. Sonia Reyes.
Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Lovins, is it Lovins? Can we get a reduction in count one to $2,500? That's within the means that he can afford at this time.
Please.
I'll reduce the bond on count one to $2,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I ordered no contact, correct? Okay.
All right, so no contact with that. That's the one. And the rest, all right? Thank you.
Sonia Reyes.
Reyes? No, this,
Say again?
Mental.
Mental health. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent Ms. Reyes. She is charged with littering on public property, lakes, and private property where it's prohibited. She's also charged with battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting an officer with violence, and assault on a law enforcement officer. Bond is set as, I find probable cause for all charges. Bond is set as follows: $500 for the littering charge, $2,500 on the battery on a law enforcement officer, $150 on count two, and $100 on count three. No contact with the alleged victim. And that is it.
Also out on bond, Your Honor, on two.
What?
She's also out on bond, out on ROR for 2022 MM 4670 and a 2020 MM 6771AO.
I see that, thank you. And if I didn't say it, she's voluntarily waived her appearance today, I'm finding that. She's out on bond on 2 trespass on property after warnings, and trespass on property other than a structure or conveyance. She's on ROR for both?
Yes, Your Honor.
State requesting I revoke the ROR?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will do that. One of the conditions of those release is that she not pick up new charges. I am revoking her conditions of release in both of those cases, setting her bond at 0 for now until such time as she's brought before the presiding judge. David Rocco.
Yes.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with violation of your conditions of pretrial release.
Your Honor, it says that this case was reset for email evidence. I don't know if you.
I have the affidavit of violation. That was signed. Involving emails in violation of the underlying injunction. So there's an affidavit, the warrant was issued setting the bond at $5,000, but it says the bond was stayed pending today's proceeding.
It was reset yesterday, contingent on getting the email evidence that was laid
Okay.
out in the affidavit.
And we apparently have that at this point, so the bond will be $5,000 for violation of the PTR as set by the issuing judge, with the added condition that there be no contact with the alleged victim. Anything else we need to do on this one?
Yes, Sean, he is also out on case 2022 CF 5926AO for aggravated stalking after injunction burglary of dwelling in a legal dump.
Same victim?
Give me one moment, Your Honor. Let me see. Let me see who the victim is in this. Your Honor, we don't have any victim information as far as the actual warrant for the violation of condition of pretrial release. I don't know who that victim is, but let me see for the other case if I can locate that. So I have Virginia Rocco. For the victim in the out on bond case. Let me check the violation of the PTI. It may be the same one.
It's Virginia Rocco.
Okay, same victim.
Same victim?
Yes.
So let me make sure I understand. He is out on bond for aggravated stalking after issuance of an injunction
Yes.
involving the same victim
Correct.
as is involved in this case, which is a violation of the pretrial release,
Correct, Your Honor.
a violation of a domestic injunction.
Yes. It's the same victim.
All right. Well, the bond was set at $5,000 in the instant case as it relates to the aggravated stalking after an injunction, 2022 CF 5926. One of the conditions was that you comply with the provisions of the temporary injunction in that case. I'm finding an on-view violation of the conditions of your release, revoking those conditions of release, setting your bond at zero, no bond until such time as you're brought before the presiding judge in that case for a full bond hearing. Ernest Mills. I'm appointing the office of the public defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with violation of your probation. And we're only doing the VOP here, not the underlying violation?
Your Honor, he is,
Oh, there it is. Sorry. They got tabbed together. You're also, so you've got 2, 3. Okay. And here's the new charge. So this violates. That's the one, okay. Well, I'm going to flip the order. So, sir, you have picked up new charges. You are charged with moving traffic violation, reckless driving, first offense. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $500. You're also charged with fleeing and attempting to elude a law enforcement officer at a high speed, purposely disregarding the lights and sirens. You are charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and possession of ammunition by a convicted felon. I review the charging affidavit. I do find probable cause for those charges as well. Bond is set on the fleeing and attempting to elude a law enforcement officer at high speed at $10,000. On the possession of a firearm by a convicted felon at $3,500. Possession of ammunition, I'll leave at $150. By picking up those new charges, it violates your probation in violates your felony probation in 2 out-of-county states, or cases, rather. Where is it? Okay. So I am, and they're both in Orange County. So your bond on the violation of probation counts is 0, no bond. For the 2 out-of-county cases. Sorry? The 2 out-of-counties are Seminole County. So there's 5 probation counts? In county, all right. So your VOP, violation of probation, 2 out of counties. Here we go, 2 out of counties, 1 in county. All are set at 0, no bond.
Sure.
Filing cabinet for him. Okay, Jeremiah Birch.
Behavior, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him. I'm finding his behavior constitutes a waiver of his appearance today. He's charged with disorderly conduct. A review of the charging affidavit indicates there is probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $250. Sebastian Fernandez. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You're charged with disorderly conduct. I find probable cause for the charge. And State, you indicated you're not doing any offers today, correct?
No, and these are county ordinance, so that would be the city attorney.
Okay.
Can we plead to the bench, Your Honor?
Yeah, that's typically what
In this
happens.
case?
Do we have history for him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. I do see that he has a prior conviction for disorderly conduct. That was June 6th of this year. And previous convictions include fleeing, eluding, drug paraphernalia possession, municipal ordinance violations, disorderly conduct, and tampering with evidence, another disorderly conduct, and a couple of violations of probation, as well as a violation of a domestic injunction.
All right. Yeah, you can plead to the bench.
Your Honor, would you entertain a credit time served offer?
How long-
Adjudication of guilt?
How long's he been, how much credit does he have?
2 days, Your Honor.
2 days? I would.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Adjudication of guilt. What are we doing with costs? Reducing him to a judgment? Or entering a judgment?
Reducing it to- If it's reduced to a civil judgment, it will still affect his ability to get a license. That's the,
I'm actually trying to spare my life. So if she gives me, I'm getting a homelessness, I'm a veteran, like that's gonna start.
okay, he doesn't need it reduced to a civil judgment.
Okay.
As long as he has at least a year.
All right.
I'm trying to straighten out my life, I'm a veteran, and my VA money's gonna start soon. I'm
All
trying
right.
to get out of homelessness, man.
Sir, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I just.
All right.
confirm.
State your name, please.
My full name, Sebastian Louis Martin Fernandez.
Okay, you can put your hand down. You are being charged with disorderly conduct. My understanding is you want to enter into a plea agreement that allows a adjudication of guilt, credit for time served of 2 days, and you would be assessed costs and the public defender's lien. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, but is that what you want to do?
Yes, I would like to plead no contest to resolve this, man.
I understand. You understand you're going to get a guilty verdict, though, as a result, so you'll be adjudicated guilty of the charge.
Yes, I understand. Through the no contest, I understand.
A little bit louder.
Through the no contest, I understand.
Okay. Are you currently under the influence of any drugs, alcohol, or substances that would affect your ability today?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Is anyone pressuring you or threatening you or forcing you to enter into this agreement?
Negative, nobody has.
You're doing this of your own free will?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. I'm going to accept the plea. I'm going to adjudicate you guilty of the charge of disorderly conduct. I'm going to sentence you to 2 days in the Orange County Jail with credit for time served of 2 days in the Orange County Jail. I'm going to assess all standard fees as well as the public defender's lien against you and direct that you are to, how are we doing that these days? Coming up with a payment plan? To be paid within a year. Anything else I need to do on this? Okay. Terrence Lee,
Outside medical, Your Honor.
outside medical. I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him. I am finding a waiver of his appearance. He's charged with disorderly conduct. A review of the charging affidavit reflects probable cause. Bond is set on the new charge at $250. He's out ROR on, in 2022 CF 6176. I'm taking no action on that case. Alan Murphy. Is that Fernandez?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, what happened with 2022 CF 6176, the case he was ROR'd on?
What's the name?
For Terrence Lee? No action? Okay, thank you.
What case did I just, what was that case? I just put the plea in. That's this. And we've done Lee, yes. We up to Alan Murphy? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a future court proceeding. You are charged with camping in an area that is prohibited. I find probable cause for the charge. And is the state inclined to make an offer?
I'll defer to the bench.
This is a city case.
So we're not going to do that. Okay. Bond is set at $250.
Your Honor, would you entertain a plea to the bench on
No.
this case? Okay.
I don't think so. Not in the city case. Thank you. Tommy Payne.
Okay. That's your bond amount. Get a letter from us, okay.
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You're charged with disorderly conduct.
I'm just gonna put the bond amount here. I'm gonna put the bond amount here, and then we'll send you a letter. You'll be able to.
I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I find probable cause for the charge. Bond is set at $250. Edwin Pizarro Rodriguez.
You refused, John?
I'm appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent him. I'm finding his refusal constitutes a waiver of his appearance. He's charged with open container, possession of alcoholic beverages, and state misdemeanors. I find probable cause for the charges. Bond is set at $250 on count 1 and $100 on count 2. Is that it?
That's it for
And
me.
we are adjourned. Thank you.
The only, I have a Jane Doe.
Have a Jane Doe. I never saw it.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
That might be the Wendler Shore. She was our Jane Doe.
Okay.
They made, what is, let me.
It's
what was
for
the book-
camping.
Yeah, what was the booking number on that one? Can you, it should be, it says it on the affidavit in the far right. It's a 22017.
251714. 2022-00251714. That's the agency case number?
No, it's,
No, I don't see a booking. Inmate number?
yes,
22017011.
that's Wendler Shore. We already addressed her case.
Okay, thank you.
Wendler Shore, we addressed her earlier.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.